Been a bit of a struggle this week with that engage layout of mine. Come up against a few challenges again, of course we have. I like to think that we've made the most of things and we've got round them in a suitable fashion. Also, monorailways apparently aren't dying. A lot of doom and gloom recently in the media and on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere else. And last week we had a video looking at what I thought was the real reason why people were thinking that the hobby was dying and putting my own 2 pence forward in regards to that. You guys had a massive response, hundreds of comments, letting me know what you thought and think on the matter, and that was fantastic to see. So this week we're going to have a quick look about what I think, and again what a lot of you guys have said are the main reasons why people perhaps stumble starting a monorailway or come back into the hobby. Hello again. Right, so last week's video caused, well, quite a little bit of debate really, which is good, which is what I like to see. Loads of conversation going on in the comments. Fantastic. A little bit doom and gloomy, but unfortunately that's the way things seem to be going at the minute. But more on that later on. Time to crack on with this engage layout. Now, I'm not sure what you saw last week, I can't remember at this point, but I've actually got the sidings installed for the modern image side now. As you can see, full size train fits in there. Quite clearly it won't be VEA vans sitting in there, it'll be something a lot more modern image and what have you. So round this end, don't forget there's going to be a big divide here. This will be the, for lack of a better word, the Speedlink era section. So we've got single line section similar to what you have up at Scotland and George and a little bit near Truro and what have you. Passing loop to allow the passenger services and what have you to skedaddle by as the freight does its thing. We're going to have the entrance point here to the yard. I'm thinking a nice long reception line and then a line for unloading general goods, so we'll have like a hard standing area where a crane could come in, for example, and load things onto like a log wagon or an open wagon or something like that, and then a place for VEA vans to be unloaded, and then maybe an office somewhere for goods which need to be stored for a little bit of time before they can be collected. So maybe a small platform that'll fit maybe 5 or 6 VEA vans at the side of it. Looking at various prototypes, that's what seems to be the thing. So I'm going to try and get some of that done today. Hopefully, anyway, we'll have a look and see how we get on. Alright then, so it's a couple of hours later now. I've done a bit more planning, as we always like to do, track planning and what have you, and I've done a little bit of research, and I went to the IGG website. There's a website called IGG, and it's got pictures of diagrams and what have you, and there was one particular example that I saw of a privately owned Speedlink terminal, and it had like 3 tracks, bit of coal, and a big warehouse. So I'm trying to do too much track. I'm giddy and excited because I've got engage now and I've got loads of space to play with, and the 5-year-old on my head's going, we need track everywhere. We need track as far as the eye can see. That's clearly not the way to do it. We need enough track to do what the facility is for. So I think we've done that to a reasonable degree. Let's have a look. Now, as you can see, the loop is now, the front loop shall I say, is now completed. We've got a turnout there, which will lead to the goods yard. Let's see if I can drive this camera backwards. We've got an arrival track. I've not made an arrival and a dispatch track. I think the one will do because we can shunt onto the loop away from the main, so that's absolutely fine. We're then going to have one track going up there into a type of goods facility, like a cover facility. You've also got the option of unloading directly from the vans. Then we've got this line here, which will be what I'm going to call the transloading line. So you can get a crane, put things onto it, load ballast, load coal, engineering works, pipe works, like up at Georgemas, things like that. So I think that is the track plan I'm going to go with. And then I can look at design the terrain. I want a bridge. I want to dig under the track and have like the goods yard the road coming up from under the track and going round up onto the goods yards. I don't know if I can do it. I'm going to try. I'm going to whip up some kind of foam cutting device, probably with my soldering iron and a bit of wire, and see if I can get something else similar to that done a bit later on this week. So yeah, more progress has halted. I've got the sidings put in place, but there's a short circuit now occurring for some reason, and the wiring's all the same colour and everything else. Everything's connected to the same wiring. What I do appear to have done is I've put a conducting fish plate here when that should be an insulated one. That causes this to short out when thrown, but now for some reason the inner loop, which has been working fine, has started to short circuit, but only when a locomotive goes on it. I can turn the track on and the circuit works fine. The locos will run everywhere else. They'll even run inside this siding, provided that point doesn't get thrown to this siding. So I'm just now trying to figure out what needs to happen, but I think all this has been tapped down. It's all going to have to come back up so that I can get an insulated fish plate on there. Things have been going well, and I knew it was only a matter of time before they stopped going well. Wagons keep derailing on this point. I don't know why. I've tried adding weight, I've tried removing weight, I've tried different couplings. It doesn't matter where they are in the thing. I know it looks like it's the locomotive causing it. It's not, because that rake up there, you often get derailments as well, same sort of thing. I don't know what's causing it. It's just another frustration to have to spend hours and time trying to figure out, looking at the point. Okay, so further investigation. If you look at where the switch rail is, this rail here which leads up here, where this rail meets here, there's a little lip on it. What's happening is the wheels of these wagons coming over and riding up. I've bloody figured it out. You've got to have close eyes to see this. Hopefully you can see it. Apologies for the footage. Pay close attention to this rail here. If we just move it across normally, it looks closed, doesn't it? But if we do it again, see there, look? If it bloody focuses, it's a bit close, is this? There, look, it's thrown, but it's not quite done. So if I move it now, listen, there, look, see that? Now it's in place. So as it throws, it isn't always throwing fully. Sometimes it only throws halfway. You've got to pull it in place like that. Right, okay. I think it might be this here, possibly. But we'll see. We just knock it across, look. Not enough. But if you do that, flips it in place. Okay. I know what the issue is. I can address it. A little bit of progress there on the layout. Happy with that, and I'm glad we got the short circuit sorted out and everything else. It just goes to show paying a little bit more attention when you're doing your bits and pieces and not rocking out to metal like I do all the time. Does go a long way. I've gone and got myself a multi-pack of the Cobalt SS slow action point motors, surface mounted ones, and you'll see why next week when we get things going. But for now, let's have a little discussion, shall we? As we always tend to do these days. Yes, you joined the nutter with his cap on and his train room ranting and raving again. So, a few things before we crack on. Firstly, massive thank you for the response to last week's video about the opinion that's going around at the minute that model railways are dying, and what I thought was a reasonable explanation as to why people might think that they're dying. I had hundreds of comments from you good people out there telling me your own personal stories and your own opinions, and some people agreed with me, some people didn't, and that's fantastic, that's fine, that's what we want. We want to have a good, healthy, respectful conversation, and I'm happy to say that's what happened. So this week we're going to have a little bit of a chat about the opposite side. Second of all, just like to say, we've now reached 2,000 subscribers. But we're now actually over that mark. We're about 2030. So mega thank you to everyone that's ever watched my videos, shared my videos, left a comment, left a thumbs down, whatever interaction you've had with my channel. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's fantastic. And hopefully we can get to the next 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, dare I even say 10,000. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? That would be something else entirely. Now with that said and with that in mind, as a bit of a thank you, in the coming, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to hopefully have a bit of a giveaway coming up. So do keep your eyes peeled and drop a subscribe if you're not already, just in case you're interested in winning something. Something for nothing is always good. So, moving on then, model railways. Reading the comments that you folks left last week, it seems that model railways aren't necessarily dying as such. Yes, there are some challenges which have come about in recent years, economical and everything else. But there was a common few things that came across in the comments, and that was time, space, and cost being the three major stoppers for someone coming and joining model railway hobby. I've even had a few people say, well, I'm a young person and I enjoy model railways, and that's fantastic. So it's good to see that it's not completely on its way out. It's just changing a little bit. It seems to be evolving and developing and becoming something else now. The way that social media works and all those other associated bits and pieces have changed how we see the hobby and how we interact with each other, and of course how we interact with the shops and the hobby in general as well. Doing the whole model railway club thing's never really appealed to me, because I'll actually just sit and do my own thing at my own pace. But for some people, the model railway club thing works really well. There is a little bit of a barrier for some people joining a model railway club. One of it might be accessibility issues. You might be a younger person, because of reasons you can't really hang around in a room full of strange men. But that aside, there are still youngsters coming into the hobby, which is really good to see, and I'm glad that I heard from you all in last week's video. So it's good to see that things aren't quite as grim as everything seems to be making it out to be recently. It's good to see things moving forward at a good, reasonable pace. So then, it would seem we are looking for reasons to be cheerful, part 3. I'm not sure how many of you are going to get that reference. Hopefully at least one person does anyway. Good thing about being a railway modeller in this day and age is we have more choice of everything, more of everything. It's been quite funny really, because you see people want to come into the hobby and first thing is, wow, that costs a lot of money. And then we did the comparison last week with PlayStations and Xbox and video games costing about the same and everything else. But there's other ways around it. And the great thing is you can go onto these many Facebook pages and forums and everything else, and you can find bargains out there. There are more bargains now than have ever really been available to anyone before. I'm thinking now of when I was a lad. I mentioned BTs last week, and a lot of people in the comments there, you used to even work at BTs and remember BTs and going there for your monitor. And I remember going with my dad and pressing my face up against the glass cabinet, wanting to buy everything they had. And obviously that was never going to happen, because even back in the 90s, the cost ratio was still about the same as what it is now, wages versus what things cost. So it wasn't like it was more affordable back then. It just seemed like, oh, for 30 quid I could have got this back in the 90s. Yes, you could have done, but you only had representing your wages. So these days things seem to be a little bit more in our favour. There's more scope for bargains these days. I've just noticed as well, as this train's been making its way around, apparently it's decided to uncouple itself, because I've not been paying exact attention to the damn thing. You see what's happened is it's now coupled itself from its train, and it's now propelling its train around, as you can see here, which is interesting. Well, there you are, look. It's been propelling itself around for the past, I don't know how many minutes, 5-10 minutes. So I'll just put that stop in there for a second, and then we'll get that sorted out in a minute. So is it all doom and gloom then? You get some comments, people saying you're just cashing in, so to speak, on the doom and gloom and that it's just clickbait and everything else, and it's not. This is a bit of a discussion blog, and I like to talk about what's happening in model railways at the minute. And at the minute, there's an opinion going around that things are on the decline, and from what people have been saying recently, there is a bit of that, but there's also plenty of reasons to be positive. But I want to know what you folks are thinking. Is there more reasons to be cheerful than gloomy in this hobby? I like to think that there is. I like to think there's a good future for everyone, and if people are concerned about the price, then perhaps it should be a case of maybe not running out and buying everything immediately, spending top dollar. You can go to a model railway shop or even online, and you've got loads and loads and loads of forums of things for sale, second hand and used, and maybe come at the hobby that way. Make it as expensive as you want. Now, space, yes, of course, dealing with the space issue is another problem entirely. You either have the space or you don't. A lot of people want to model double O gauge. Double O gauge is seen as the daddy, if you will. N gauge and smaller gauge, they're still sort of seen as lesser for some reason, and we'll get to that at a later date. Now, I started with double O, and what I wanted to do with double O wasn't really happening because I want to run full trains like I'm doing here. Unfortunately, can't really do that, so I had to reassess what space I had, the affordability factor, and what I wanted to do. So I've ended up with N gauge and double O. Double O as back and forth shunting, and N gauge for running proper trains, if you will. So cost, you can make it as expensive as you like, just look around. Space, have a rethink about what gauge you want to model in and what you want to do. You'd be surprised at what you can do if you really put your mind to it. And you can end up with a really enjoyable, really fun layout. It will bring you many, many days, weeks, months and years of enjoyment. You could even, if you've got friends in a club, look at getting a club room, and you can all make your own little modules like you see in America. The Americans, is it Fremont? I think it is, off the top of my head, where they all build a module to their own agreed standard and then meet up once a month and you connect them all together and you have a huge running session. So that's another way of doing it as well. Now, time. Like Pink Floyd said, you run and you run to catch up to the sun, but it's sinking, racing around to come up behind you again. No one told you when to run, you missed the starting gun. I'm not going to sit here and start singing Pink Floyd, but the point is, time is time. We can get so swept up with modern life and the way things are that it's hard to just sit back for 5-10 minutes an evening, and that's all I do. 5 minutes in an evening, sometimes not even that, and I just sit back and just breathe, and I watch my trains go around just to decompress, and then I might get involved with a bit of modelling as well, depending what's on the agenda and what needs to be done and everything else. So yes, it's not all doom and gloom. You can afford a model railway, you can build a model railway in the space you have, and you do have time, you make time. Guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this week's video and you enjoy the updates which are coming now for the N gauge layout. Do leave a comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you soon. Cheers now, bye bye.